Ink. In this section, I will show you how to work with brush pens to create bold lines. Think about the parts that you want to stand out. Using the brush pen can add more detail, but it will also make these parts of the poster stand out more. Think about where your poster is going to live. If people are going to see it from far away, then it needs to be bold so people can see it properly. You can choose to just work with black lines, colour lines, or skip this step entirely. Be playful and think about what works for you. So these are our Pentel brush pens, and when you first get them, they have this red ring in the middle, and you have to just separate the cartridge from the nib, take off the red ring, and then put the cartridge back on. And the first time that you use them, this one has actually been used. The first time you use them, the nib will be completely white, and you have to gently, and I mean gently, squeeze the cartridge, and you'll see ink start to come down through here, down into the nib, and the nib will start to turn black as it fills up with ink. If you squeeze it too roughly, basically loads of ink will come out, and the nib will be overloaded, and you'll have too much ink basically. So just do it gently until it comes down, and as it starts to run out of ink on the page, you can just lightly squeeze it again so that more ink runs down onto the brush part. And yeah, basically that's how you use them. And they come in different colors. So they come in a whole range of colors. This is a pink one, for example. You can see the pink color there. This one is gray, but if you squeeze it too hard, it will just come out black. So that's also why it's good to be mindful of how hard you press. And when the cartridge on these run out, you can replace them. So you can buy just this part, the cartridge part, if you want to, and just carry on using the same brush part. Because I use them so much, I do find that eventually the brushes do get a bit worn, and they might end up, the bristles end up not all being together. They might be a bit split. And I like to keep these ones because I feel like when the nib gets a bit rough, then they can add a bit of texture still. So I either keep them like this empty and I'll just use them with ink or something else, or you can put a new cartridge on there and just have, so you can have like different kinds of texture as well. So that's my kind of rough looking one. And then I keep one which I use strictly for line work, which has a good, solid nib. And because they're pressure sensitive, then you can get really fine lines, or if you press just a bit harder, you don't need to press hard, but just a bit harder, you can have thicker lines. So you can have different kinds of lines. You can have lines that are both thick and thin, and also because this is watercolor paper, you can see that the paper is adding a slight texture to the line. If you were to use this pen on cartridge paper or on Bristol board, which is the kind of paper that people traditionally use for comics, for example, then it might look slightly different. But so just have a play around with it and see what you think. I feel like once you get used to using the brush, then they're really easy to use. And they're, relatively cheap in comparison to buying, ink and a brush. Yeah, it's my favorite pen. So this is the final work. And as you can see, it's not quite finished. I'll be honest, it definitely takes me more than a day to get my work finished generally. But, I think it's important to show work whilst it's still in progress. And so as you can see, we have the protesters from the Section 28 protests here, protesters from against the Industrial Relations Act in 1971, the Edward Colston statue being thrown into the river kind of got a little bit covered up there. But then also we have the other BLM protesters and the phrase which I mentioned, our strength is in fighting together. So I'm really looking forward to the posters that you create, and I can't wait to see them. Thank you for joining me.